a very troubling question that has now cropped up, and that is now making the rounds. It's actually giving jitters to a lot of people, but let's deal with this. Can you study in Canada if you are on an open work permit? Very tricky one, right? That because so many colleges are selling these programs, so many individuals are being advised by agents, consultants, lawyers to go ahead and complete a 6 months program so that you will then be eligible to practice in an occupation, which could then further give you an advantage to enter into a category draw or become eligible in a different program or eligible in a PNP program. I'm referring to largely PSW, personal support worker courses, ECE or early childhood educator or assistant courses, welding courses. These are all short-term vocational courses that one may undertake so that they can then obtain a job in a specific occupation and then get their work experience. Now, predominantly, individuals have been doing this over a very long period of time, but where is the legal precedence? Where is the legal basis of whether you can study in Canada without having a work permit? Well, that comes from Section 188, subsection 1, subsection C, which says that a person may study in Canada for a duration of 6 months or less without a study permit within their authorized period, which is granted to them upon entry into Canada. That is by and large, I paraphrase it a bit, but that is by and large what Section 188(1)(c) states. Now, this usually applies to visitors. So technically, people who have been coming to Canada as a visitor, if you enter the country as a visitor, you are granted 6 months stay in Canada if there is no stamp on your passport. Now, within the 6 months period, you obviously can study if you wish to. And this was a route that has been taken historically by a lot of international students who come to Canada. They study ESL, English as a second language course. After completing that course, which is considered as a prerequisite for a long-term course of a duration of 1 year, 2 years, so they are able to then apply for an inside Canada study permit processing. That is usually where this studying without a study permit is allowed. But if you are in Canada on a work permit, can you still study? Can you still undertake a 6-month course? Now, there is no provision for that specific format under the legal aspects, not in IRPA, Immigration Refugee Protection Act, or the regulations. Nowhere does it very clearly state that yes, you can study, or no, you can't study. Yes, of course, if you are undertaking a longer duration of course of 1 year, 8 months, anything more than 6 months, you most definitely need a study permit. Now, there was a public policy during COVID, which basically said, it was issued in 2023, which basically said that if your work permit was issued before 7th of June, then you were eligible to study in Canada without a study permit while you were on a work permit in Canada. But this was, in my opinion, meant for long-term studies, because considering the fact that you can study in Canada for 6 months without the need of study permit, there was no specific requirement for this. Then why did IRCC come out with this kind of a public policy? And that is also confusing a lot of individuals out there. Well, the point is that during COVID, they wanted to allow a lot of people who were in Canada as workers on a work permit to be able to also study for a longer duration of time, 1 year, 2 years, whatever that might be, within the duration of their work permit. And therefore, this public policy was announced, and a lot of individuals did take advantage of this as well. But does this also cover the 6-month program? So, of course, if your work permit was issued on or before 7th of June, if you are studying for 6 months also, well, that gets covered, no problem. But what about people whose work permits were issued after 7th of June? Can they study? Well, in my opinion, and this is just an opinion, of course, because there is no legal basis for this, I have cross-referenced this with several other colleagues. I have checked several databases. I've basically gone through the IRCC website to figure out if it mentions anywhere or not. Well, there is a small mention there on the IRCC website which says that if you're a long-term visitor in Canada, and I would assume that also applies for individuals who are in Canada on a super visa, because those are the only other long-term visitors, or also individuals who are in Canada on a long-term visitor record, right? You might have a visitor record if you're accompanying your spouse, for example. You could be living in Canada for 1 year, 2 years. Your visitor record could be for that period of time. So these long-term visitors and workers in Canada at times may wish to pursue a vocational course or may wish to pursue a short-term course, and the way IRCC has defined it, they don't have a problem with it. So this section 188 1C, which is the legal basis of who can study in Canada without a study permit, well, that does not cover these aspects. It only covers the authorized period of stay given to you on your initial entry, okay, upon your initial entry. So for example, you came to Canada as an international student, you completed a 2-year program, and then you transitioned into a postgraduate work permit. So does this include you? Because let's say you never went to outside Canada. Does this include you? Well, it doesn't include you, because your initial duration of stay, authorized stay upon entry, was the period of time that you gained as a student, your study permit. After that, you applied for change of status, and therefore it was no longer your initial period of authorized stay, and therefore your postgraduate work permit studies. So studying while you are on a postgraduate work permit under the legal basis, section 188 1C does not cover, does not allow you. And that's basically where the legal precedence is. So if you were to study, and if a visa officer was to identify that and challenge it, will they refuse your application? Well, first of all, why would they refuse your application? Because you are inadmissible because of section IRCC 41, which says that if you are in non-compliance of the Immigration Refugee Protection Act, then you are inadmissible to Canada. So if you are studying, does that make you inadmissible? So while you are in the process of studying, for that duration, you are inadmissible if you follow the section 188 1C, which basically means that you can't study, so therefore you are inadmissible, right, during the period of studies. But once your period of study is completed, all right, and if you are no longer studying, then your non-compliance is no longer valid. Means you are no longer in non-compliance, and therefore just by that simple basis, you are not violating any laws, and 6 months program is finished, done, over with. You're no longer violating the laws, and therefore you are no longer inadmissible to Canada. That's a short answer. However, the way IRCC has interpreted this, or the way IRCC has applied this, they have accepted it, they have allowed it. IRCC is aware of it, and let me share with you a screenshot on the screens right now, where IRCC is very clearly saying that if you are in Canada on a work permit, you can study. There is no need for you to go out of Canada and re-enter Canada so that you have a new authorized period of stay and then you start working. None of that. You don't have to do any of that. This is from their immigration representative portal, rep portal account that I'm sharing with you. There are some other screenshots also which I'm sharing with you on the screen, also where IRCC has said, not in a very direct manner, but have already stated that there are chances where people study. So to cut this whole long story short, that studying in Canada without a work permit, as long as the duration is less than 6 months, you should be fine with it. At least I haven't seen any refusals. If you know of any refusals, please do share and let us know. It would make up for a better debate. There you go. That is basically the clarification I wanted you to provide. I know a lot of what I said might have been, a bit confusing and mumbo jumbo, but take it slowly and understand this in a manner where you can be guided accordingly and then take a decision. And don't forget to follow and subscribe to the channel. I will see you on the other side. Take care and stay forever home.